tool is going to help you tremendously. If you sell, it's going to help you in picking the right product for the client. If you recruit and build, it's going to help you get your agents out in the field faster and get them more comfortable with being able to pick products, because you and I, everybody on this call, all knows that the biggest question and the biggest feedback we get, or objection, if you will, from new agents is, we've got too many products and I don't know which one is going to help the client the most. And I can't make a call and set an appointment until I know everything about everything about everything. And we hear that over and over. Well, this tool is going to put something in your agent's hands, on their tablet, on their iPad, on their computer, that is going to help them feel comfortable to go in a home and have the tools available to help them pick products. And then, just like Clay said, this doesn't do away with the calling from the home. Calling from the home is still going to be important to help in making that sale, solidify things, make sure that they don't forget to get the green sheet done, ask for referrals, all of that, hire in the home, all of that. But this is really going to help the front end of the 4 basics, which is pick up a check or pick up the phone. And this is going to help them to do that. So we're super excited about this. Everyone who has seen this tool has loved it. And I've talked about, I've done enough hype. So we're going to get right into it. So this is a website, and don't worry about, writing down the link here or anything like that. We are going to send you we're going to have a landing page, and you're going to be able to go out. You are going to have a special link to this tool with special pricing. Now that I've mentioned pricing, the first month, the first 30 days, you're going to get access to this tool at no cost. After that, it's going to be $15 a month. I would pay $150 a month for this tool. Like, no kidding. If I was out there, in the field, we've got people that say they're already using it and how helpful it is and how much they're paying for it, which is not $15 a month. It's a whole lot more, but $15 a month. Andy has agreed to offer this to everybody for 30 days for free, and then $15 a month after that. And it is worth 10 times that. I mean, it's just such an amazing tool. So this thing does 2 things. It helps you underwrite and it helps you quote. So first of all, we're going to go into the underwriting side of things, and then we'll kind of look at the quoting. But it's like a one-stop shop where I have had agents asking me for this, Clay, for the last, 11 years that I've been at the Alliance. Probably from the very beginning, I've had people asking me for a tool like this, and we finally have it. So just some things I want to mention. When you go in and you log in, you set up your account. It's super easy. You fill out a couple pieces of information, set up a password, and it gets you to a screen that looks like this. One of the first things that I want to tell you is, if you go to customize carriers, then you're going to see all of our carriers here. You'll see your account, and you'll see all of the carriers that we have. Now this, I'm looking at the final expense one. This tool has both final expense and term on it. And I've already asked them for UL, and they're working on UL, so we can get like Smart UL and IULE from Mutual of Omaha and that on there as well. They're working on that. But if, for example, you are not contracted with Sons of Norway, because they shut off contracting several months ago. Some of our agents have Sons of Norway. Some of our agents don't have access to Sons of Norway and cannot get contracted with Sons of Norway at this time. So if you don't want Sons of Norway to show up, you simply go to Customize Carriers. You go down to Sons of Norway and you turn it off on your account. And that doesn't turn it off for the whole Alliance. This is what you're going to see when you log into your personal account. If you can't get contracted with a certain carrier for whatever reason, you can turn that carrier off and it's not even going to show up. So that's one cool thing. that I want you to know is you'll have access to all of our carriers, but if there are particular carriers that you can't write, you're not appointed with, you don't want to show for whatever reason, you can turn those off in your particular account. Also, just a couple of things in the settings. So this link here, you're really not going to want to use the link that much because they want you to use the website. The link is only going to give a quote. So if you wanted to send this link out to somebody, it doesn't do any of the underwriting functions. It's simply for quoting purposes only. So if you wanted to send it out to an agent for some reason, just to do a quote, you can go on your settings page and copy that link and send it to someone. But again, it does not give them any of the underwriting tools. And then the widget, this is, so with President's Club, you guys get a website, multiple websites. That's one of your President's Club benefits. You can actually put a quoter from here out on that website. And that's what you do with this widget. So the widget is just a link that you're able to put on your website so that people could go on, a potential client, potential customer could go on and just run a quote. Again, no underwriting involved, just runs a quote. It's going to show them only the carriers that you're contracted with or that you have turned on in your account. This over here on the right just gives you an example of what that widget is going to look like on your website. And so as you can see, somebody can go in and just run a quote and then, send you an email that they're interested in coverage, things like that. So you've got that on there as well under settings. Okay, so I am going to go right into the quoter. So the first thing that I want to tell you is over here, you see face amount, the coverage type, things like that. I would not put any of that information in at first. The first thing we want to do is underwriting. We want to find out what are we going to qualify for. Then we're going to go back and quote. The reason why I say don't do that is let's say you've got someone that wants $50,000 of whole life coverage. And let's say based on what the underwriting does, it'll come back as a guaranteed issue policy. Let's say they have cancer. They're currently being treated for cancer. So only guaranteed issue is an option. And if you put a face amount of $50,000 in there, none of our carriers guaranteed issue go up to $50,000. So therefore, you are, it's going to show you that there's nothing available and you're going to think you can't help the client. You could get them $40,000 coverage with Great Western, but if you put a face amount of $50,000 in there, Great Western is not going to be available at that amount. So it's going to show you that there's not any options. So that's why you're kind of backing yourself into missing carriers if you put that information in there. So we're going to do just a male age 65. As you can see, it does have height and weight. So you can put the height and weight in here, nicotine usage. And then here's another cool thing. Let's say they only have the Direct Express credit card, the Social Security billing, and you want to only show carriers that have Social Security billing. You can filter that way. If they want to pay by credit card or a debit card, they don't have a bank account, you can sort by carriers that way. We're just going to leave it at bank drafts so we can see everything at first. Over on the right, here's where you're going to enter health conditions and medications. So we're just going to do just a simple quote. First of all, we're going to say they don't have any health conditions. We're not going to put in any health conditions, any medications. We're just going to show get quote. And then here's what you'll see. You'll see multiple different carriers down here, and it'll sort by different things. You see here that you've got the CVS Preferred, the CVS Standard, Foresters Preferred, Foresters Standard. And then if you do click on this little button over here to the right, the little arrow, it's going to give you some different information. Like if you want to add accidental death, here's the rate to add the accidental death. So it goes up from $58.19 to $62.39, only a couple more dollars to add accidental death. So some things like that, it's going to show you. Now let's go up, and like most clients, we've got somebody with some health conditions. So let's look at, actually, let me show you one more thing first. So let's say that the client is going to be graded. And we know that because we've done the underwriting. So some stuff I want to show you, which is probably going to show up when we run the quote. So now, because we've got graded, you see some additional things that are showing up here. So here's a really cool thing, this dollar sign. So it's going to tell you if there's a commission cut because of something that you put in. So because they're qualifying for a graded with CVS, that is they call it modified, there's a commission cut because it's not level. Same thing with Foresters, and same thing with CFG. So it's going to tell you. Now you'll see American Amicable, there's no dollar sign there. So that means they're not doing a commission cut for a graded policy. So you know that. It also, the little I gives you information. These are all graded policies. So it'll tell you what the graded period is. So again, these are the kind of things that are hard for a new agent to remember. And for all the different products that we have, well, what does graded mean? What does modified mean? So it tells you right here for CVS, that means in the first 2 years, it's a return premium plus 10% interest, and then they have the full death benefit the third year. Same thing with Foresters, same thing. Well, CFG is 6% first 2 years. And then you can just go down and see American Amicable is a little bit different. They do 30% of the face amount the first year, 70% of the face amount the second year, and 100% of face amount the third year. So again, little things that's very hard for new agents to know or remember are right here. So it's giving you little tips as you're going along as well. Now let's go in and do some underwriting. So I've got some medications written down here so that we can look at some people. So let's say the first one that I'm going to enter is Tamoxifen. And I will probably mispronounce every single one of these medications, so no judgment. Tamoxifen is a cancer drug. So let's say your client is taking Tamoxifen. So we're going to choose that. And as you can see, when I started typing in, it's going to pre-populate medications, so you don't have to know the exact spelling. And it asks for current cancer or past cancer. So we're going to say it was a past cancer. We're going to say it was a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. When did they first have it filled? Let's say that they had cancer back in 2017. So they first got the medication filled in 2017. They're currently taking it. So the currently taken is checked, and then really doesn't matter the date of the last fill if you have the currently taken. It's also going to ask, is it a prostate cancer? We're going to say no. Has the prospect ever had cancer more than once? We're going to say no this time. And because, as you can see, there's a lot of reflexive questions here. This is because this is such a good underwriting tool. It's going through every possible scenario to give you the best outcome. So we said they've never had, what was the last question? Ever had cancer more than once? We said no. So it's going to ask, have they ever had cancer of the same type come back? And now, if we had said that they had it more than once, then it's going to ask, have they had a recurrent cancer of the same type? It doesn't make sense to ask them, have they had it again, because we just said they had it again. So again, it's going to go based off of your answers. It's going to continue to ask additional questions. So again, we're going to say, no, they haven't had it more than once. No, they haven't had recurring, and no, they don't have metastatic cancer. So we've answered all the questions. We click down on get quote. And again, it gives us the quote. It tells us that they can qualify for. Because they had cancer in 2017, several years ago, they can get preferred with Foresters. They can get preferred with Transamerica. So again, then you get into some of the graded plans. It's going to tell you compensation cuts. Another thing is you'll see this question mark. You might wonder, well, why with Liberty Bankers is it modified? So if you mouse over the question mark, it'll tell you if they've been treated with Tamoxifen for the past 2 years, that automatically takes them into modified. So it's going to show you exactly what plan you're going to be able to help the client with. Now, remember, they were on Tamoxifen, cancer drug, currently taking it. But with foresters, they can get preferred because the cancer's been over 2 years. It doesn't matter that they're still taking the drug. That's not, they don't care about that. They just want to know when was it first diagnosed. Now, here's the reason it's very important to put the medications in. Oh, the star next to the carrier. Thank you, Ed. I meant to, let me see. Okay, yes. So Ed asked, what's the star next to the carrier? That's going to tell you which carriers have Social Security billing. Now, that is different from the Direct Express. Social Security billing means they can set up their draft to coincide with when their Social Security is deposited. So if somebody has their Social Security deposited the first Wednesday of every month, and you want that draft to hit the first Wednesday of every month, so that as soon as the money goes in, they're getting their insurance premium taken out before they have a chance to spend all the money, then that's what the Social Security billing is. So the star, anytime you see something and you don't know what it means, just mouse over it and it'll tell you. But thank you, Ed, for bringing that up, because I meant to mention that. So you'll see the carriers that'll do Social Security billing. So now here's why it's important to put in medications. Let's say we're going to take the tamoxifen out and let's just put cancer in. Your client has cancer. They told you they have cancer. And then it's going to ask you what type. We're going to say a past cancer, not a current cancer. We're going to say the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's going to ask us the same questions that it asked before. Date of last treatment. You don't know anything other than that they currently have it and are being treated for it. So we'll say, that they're currently being treated. Was it prostate cancer? No. The date of diagnosis, we'll say the 17th. And have they ever had cancer more than once? No. And it's not metastatic. So then if we quote it based on that information, look what happens. Foresters went to basic, which is graded, which is going to tell you right here. That's because all we put was they were currently being treated for it. We didn't have the medication in there. As soon as we put that medication in and they see that the treatment is just a drug that they've been taking for the last 5 or 6 years, then Foresters is okay with full benefit preferred rates on plan right. So that's why it's very important. Get the medications and put them in, because if you don't, you might be getting something that is not as good as what the client could actually qualify for. So that just shows you a good example of why you don't want to just put in there that they have cancer. You want to put in, the medications that they're taking. So let me look at my notes, make sure I didn't miss anything. This is new to all of us, including me, so I have notes. Let's see. Okay. All right. So now we're going to do a different scenario. So we're going to have our same 65-year-old male. We're not changing any of that, but we're going to put in we're going to make up a concoction of medications here and see what it gives us based on the concoction of meds that we have. Yeah, Jerry, you're right. This is massive. It's going to help. It's just going to help grow your team, blow this thing up like Mount Fuji. We're going to grow like crazy, get people out there selling insurance fast, because that's the idea. Okay, so let's say your client is taking spironolactone, S-P-I-R-O-N-O, spironolactone for high blood pressure. So again, once you put in the medication, it's going to have all these different things it could be treated for. So we're going to say it's high blood pressure and it is controlled. And again, we're going to say they've been on it for like 5 years, currently taking it, but on it, and hit finish. All right. Now let's just run that quote. They just have high blood pressure because again, we can see that they're getting preferred. They're getting the best rates out there. Now a new thing has come up. We've got a red dot. A red dot means there's some additional information you need to look at. So CBS says it should be preferred. However, that medication might cause the case to be referred to an underwriter. So put notes on the application and just FYI, let the client know, they might get a call, things like that. So anytime there's a red dot, again, it's typically because of medication. As you know, there's a lot of multi-use medications out there. Now we put in here, they were taking it for high blood pressure. So if they're just taking it for high blood pressure, it should go through just fine. As you know, sometimes clients don't tell you everything. So maybe there's something else they're not telling you. And this just warns you, hey, could be an issue. You don't see that red dot with foresters. So, with foresters, should go through, preferred, no problem. So that's another thing that I want to show you. When the red dot comes up, make sure you look at that. So let's add some additional medications in there. This shows you the power of the tool with a combination of medications. Check the chat and make sure. Grow like crazy. That's right. Yes, it is going to save so much time, Martha. It is just amazing. Okay, so next med we're going to put in is Warfarin, blood thinner. And let's say they're using it for a blood thinner. Now, this is one of those things that, they don't have a blood clot, they don't have AFib, they haven't had a heart attack. So if they're using it for a blood thinner, that's thrombosis. So we're just going to choose that. Again, we're going to say they've been on it for quite a while. And we're going to add that one on there. So, and then we're going to add another medication, a Tenolol. And again, they're taking that, we'll say, for high blood pressure. And again, they've been taking it for several years. Finish. All right. Now see something popped up here. That's because this combination of medications, Warfarin with the other two, indicates the client might have congestive heart failure. Now, if the client does not have congestive heart failure, you've talked to the client, you've been like, hey, dude, if you don't tell me this and we send this app in, it's going to get declined. So it's better off if you tell me now if you've got congestive heart failure. And they swear, on sack of Bibles, they've never had congestive heart failure. Then you can take that condition off. You can click the X and take it off. But this tool is so good that when there's a combination of medications that could very well indicate they have a more serious problem than they're telling you about, it's automatically going to populate it on the tool. What? I know, it's crazy. I know you guys can't respond, so I got to do the responses for you. All right. So let's say they don't have congestive heart failure. We're going to take that off and then we run the quote. So we've got a combination of meds here, and we can see with CVS it's still preferred, with Foresters it's still preferred. And then, with CFG, it's their highest, best rate product. And then we get into our graded. It will also tell you if there's a carrier not listed. You may have wondered, if you look through all of our carriers, well, we have America. Why is America not listed? If you go down to the bottom, it'll tell you why it's not listed. If they're treated with Warfarin for thrombosis within a year, it's going to be guaranteed issue. And not only that, the commission cut is too high to be a viable option. They're looking out for your commissions too. And they're telling you, don't even look at this product because you're going to get paid crap. That's basically what that means when it says commission cut is too high to be a viable option. That's a PC way of saying you're going to get paid crap. Don't sell that product. So it's going to show you things like that. So then you get to the point where you know exactly what they're going to take. All right, now let's look at one more example and then we'll go into quoting. So let's say, all right, one more thing. I'm going to add one more medication to this client, furosemide. And again, high blood pressure. And we're going to say they've been taking it for a while. Now we got a new question. The daily dosage, is it 60 milligrams or less or more than 60 milligrams? And if they don't know, you can put unsure. But again, the more information you put in here, the better underwriting decision you're going to get. Let's say that it's more than 60 milligrams. Guess what? There comes back our congestive heart failure. Because typically if they're taking furosemide in that high of a dosage with a combination of all these other meds, they have congestive heart failure. And if that is in fact true, and we click get quote, guess what? We're going to guaranteed issue. And it's going to tell you Great Western, there's going to be the one you want to sell, and it's a return of premium plus 10% in the first 2 years. So again, it'll just keep asking reflexive questions until you answer all the questions. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat, making sure I don't. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not missing any questions. All right, so now I'm going to take all this stuff off. Let's say someone is on a Alzheimer medication. However you say that. And they're taking it, again, if they're not sure what they're taking it, which they might not be if they have Alzheimer's, they tell you this medication and it indicates that that's for dementia or Alzheimer's. So if they ask that, let's say they're currently taking it, let's say that they were diagnosed 2 years ago, and then get a quote. Because it is Alzheimer's, again, you're going to get guaranteed issue companies only. So again, if they may not know why they're taking it, sometimes when you enter the medication, it's going to give you what that typically, if they're on that medication, they have Alzheimer's or dementia. It's like when it indicates a condition like that, it's very, very, very rare that they don't have that condition. So just know when you put that medication in, let me do it again just so you could see the question. When it says indicates a certain condition, remember we didn't have that before. We had that it suggested if they might have something. This indicates they have it. If it indicates they have it, they are telling us, the people that developed the tool, that it is a very, very high probability that's what they're taking that med for. So if they're telling you that's not what they're taking the med for, they're probably lying. They said it's very rare that it's not the reason they're taking the medication. So they figured all that into the underwriting. All right, now let's go back to just a healthy client. Let's get a quote, and I'm going to show you the quoting part of it. The push to CRM, they do have a CRM system. It is nowhere near what our ARC CRM system is, but it is good for one thing. And that's it is a HIPAA compliant way to store your client's medications. So if you've got someone taking a medication, let's just type in Spiriva. And let's say they're taking it for COPD and they've had it for several years. And we get a quote, and we're going to see CVS takes the standard, Forrester's takes the standard. Now, if you wanted to save this information for a client, you could click on the push to CRM, put in the client's name. I'm just going to do sample client. Save that client. You'll see up here that it's been saved. Then when you go back up here to your CRM, you will see your client. I only have one client in here. Oh, actually, no, I have a couple in here. And if you click on see all clients, then you click on expanded, it'll show you over here an overview. Let's say we sold them a CVS, and you can go to the medical, and there it shows you your medications. So if you're following up with a client and they're like, hey, Clay, yeah, we decided we need some more life insurance. And you're like, okay, cool. You can go in here, pull them up in your CRM, say, hey, Clay, are you still taking that Spiriva for COPD? Yep, still on that. Are you on any other medications? Nope, not on any other medications. Then you can go back to the quoting. And if they are on medications, you can still go back to the quoting. Just click on dashboard, go back to the quoting, and quote do a new quote for them. So that's the only thing you would want to use the CRM for, is to store medications. If you want to do that, again, our ARC CRM is so much better. You're not going to want to use it as a true management system with keeping up with your clients, but you can HIPAA compliantly store their medication information in there. All right, so let's say we want to quote this client. These numbers that you see here for the premium, this is defaulting to $10,000. It does not say that up here, but just so you know, any of the final expense quotes, they're defaulting to what the premium is for $10,000 worth of coverage. Now, let's say that we're ready to quote this client. We know, let's say we're going to go with CVS, and we're ready to quote them. We can do a compare here. And let's say that, you know, just like in our ATM, we give them 3 options. So let's say we want to quote them 5,000, 10,000, and 15,000. And we're going to do standard because that's what it told us we can do. And look here, it gives you 3 options. So 41.43 for 5,000, 79.36 for 10, and 117.29 for 15. If they're like, oh, well, that sounds pretty good. What could I get for like $130 a month? We can go back up here. Instead of the 15,000, that was 117. We can take the 15 out. We can search for $130 a month, compare quotes. And here we go. They can get 17,000 for $132.47. So at this point, this works on any device, a tablet, a laptop. I'm using it on a Surface right now. You can do it on your phone. It's just going to be tinier, smaller on a phone, but you could just turn this around to the client and say, well, here's what we've pre-qualified you for based on the information that you gave me. Here are your options. And, you know, then you can, and then if the accidental death is available, it gives you the option of, okay, if you want to add accidental death for another 5,000, instead of $41.43 a month, it'll be $43.53 a month. So it'll automatically tell you what you could do to upsell them a little bit accidental as well. So that is really cool. If you want to save this, you can save it. It'll save it as a file on your computer, and you can go back to it if you want to do that for any reason. Again, checking my notes to make sure I didn't. Okay, did all that. Okay, so again, super, super easy to use this tool. Let me see if we've got any questions. We do. All right. What if they take those meds to control their blood pressure and does not have congestive heart failure? Stephanie, like I said, you can take that off. You just, where it said congestive heart failure, you just click the X and it'll take the congestive heart failure off, but leave all the meds on. So that's how you get past that. Yes, it determines the best carrier. What about past meds that they're on, that they aren't on now? Anything, I would ask them, you know, if it's final expense, most of the time they're looking in the last few years. So I would just ask them for anything in the last, 5 years that they've taken. And they'll, again, if they see that, because you had the option of putting in the date it was last filled. If it was filled 3 years ago, then you put that in. And if that doesn't make a difference, then, it'll figure that out in the underwriting. Okay, so we've got one, sickle cell anemia, Sons of Norway is not available. The client is 30 years old. So let's go back to our quoter. And let's say we've got a 30-year-old with sickle cell. And let's say they're currently being treated for it. So it'll tell you Sons of Norway is your only option. If you don't have Sons of Norway, then it's going to tell you you don't have an option for final expense. That means accidental death. So accidental death policy for that client. So, but again, it'll tell you right here, hey, we don't have another option for something for final expense. So, okay. Again, I'm just checking the chat, make sure we got it. Okay, I think I got everything in the chat. All right, so let's look at term really quick. Not a whole lot of difference between term and final expense. The quoter works the same way. going to take this out. Again, we don't want to specify a certain face amount of premium at the beginning. If you did want to look at return of premium products, you just turn that toggle on. Let's say we're looking at a 30-year-old. Again, you can put in height and weight, whether they use nicotine or not. Let's say that we've got somebody on metformin for diabetes. Metformin, diabetes, no complications. And let's say, again, we'll say they've been taking this for quite a long time. We'll say since 2014, they're still taking it. Let's say they were diagnosed in 2014 and has it been uncontrolled in the last 6 months? Nope, it's under control. We're all good. Get the quote. Okay, so this is because of the age of the client. So we've got a 30-year-old that had been diagnosed pretty young. So it's telling us, hey, no term options because of the date prior to 30, fill prior to age 35. Now let's change this client's age to 65. And click get quote. Oh, what is it? Oh, so the term defaults to 100,000, whereas the final expense defaults to a rate for 10,000. The term is going to default to a rate for 100,000. So let's say we put in, they only want 50,000 and get the quote. No, it's still not giving us. All right, let me look at my notes. Oh, okay. Let's look at someone healthy first of all. Let's look at like a 35-year-old that's healthy. We're on a 30-year term. Okay, so what I want to show you here is, again, this is defaulting for 100,000, or no, 50,000, because that's still in there. If I didn't put that in there, it would default for 100,000. But now we have the red dot means something different on term. Because we put in an age and not a date of birth, it's telling us Forrester's goes by age nearest. So make sure, since you didn't put in the date of birth, make sure that you've got the right age in there. And then the info button on term shows you something different. It shows you what the living benefits are on that particular client. So if you've got someone looking for that, and it will show other things if that's applicable. Again, this red dot, age nearest, and the I will show you what their living benefits are. So the term quote basically works exactly like the final expense quote. Now, it's also not just health conditions. So I had someone asking me about disability. So let's say their client is 35 and they're on disability, and they're currently on disability. And was it a back, hip, or spinal issue? We'll say no. Is it PTSD? We'll say no. So they're currently on disability. Get the quote. Will it show you things if they're on disability? Yep, absolutely. It shows you that Forrester's and CFG doesn't care if they're disabled. It'll show why the other ones will not quote. So it does that. What about if we've got somebody that's on parole? And they're currently on parole. Have they served jail time and been off of parole for 5 years? We're going to say no, because we're going to say they're currently on parole, and we are going to say yes, it was due to a conviction of a felony. And then we're going to say get quote. And it's going to tell you, because they're currently on parole, they're not going to qualify for any of the term products. You could go to final expense and look and see, will they qualify for a final expense product? So it's not just health conditions. It's driving record, it's criminal record, it's disability, it's anything that's asked about on the application. So if it's not a specific you don't have a medication for being on parole, you just put it in as, even though it's not technically a health condition, put it in as the health condition, disability, parole, DUI, things like that. And it's going to take it and go from there. So let's see what other questions we have. Yes, you can change the length of the term. Down here, it's like a 30-year term. You can change it to 25. Oh, that's why it wasn't showing me anything for the 65-year-old, was because I had it on a 30-year term, the 65-year-old with metformin earlier. Okay.
And so a lot of good stuff happening. I absolutely love this product. I had a guy on Saturday that called me and he said, "Hey, bro, I'm in the house. I need some help." And I thought, you know what? I got this. I got my app. So I pulled up my little computer and I talked to the client, and the client said, "I got this and I got this." And I was just typing away. And Terrell, he's a newer agent. He said, "All right, what do I do?" And I said, "You're going to sell him this or you're going to sell him this?" He said, "All right, I got it." My man walked out with 2 apps. I was like, look at me. I done got Terrell 2 apps in the house and all of it right here. And the best part about it was I had confidence because Gina done made me an app. So then last week I was talking to a lady and she said she needed life insurance. You always love it when somebody says that. And I said, "Well, what you got going on up in that health?" And we typed in her problems, and sure enough, Gina, I wrote a Mutual of Omaha final expense e-app, just like that, all in the app. I was like, this app has changed my life. Because before I'd be like, Clay, she got, I don't know what she got. She's saying stuff. I'd have to Clay, but now it's right there, and it's so helpful. When to know that I can send somebody out into the field and they not have to worry about underwriting, and you got your numbers right there. Now, here's the thing to remember. This does not replace calling somebody from the home. There's one rule: pick up a check or a phone. But what this does is it helps the person you're calling to know what they can sell because it tells you on the app. Because how many of you managers have had somebody you called in the house, or they called you from the house, and they said, "Well, all right, tell me a little bit about their health." "Yeah, they said they ain't got nothing going on, but they had that stroke the other week," and then that, and it's like, oh my word. Well, now they type in their medication, and so when you call your upline or whoever's helping you in the house, you go, "Hey, look, I got the medications in, and based on the medications, here's what I'm looking at." You could even take a picture of it and send them what you're looking at. Say, "All right, help me close this deal." And then they can help you with the words to make the close. It just speeds up the process. To me, this is absolutely life-changing. I absolutely love it because it just makes it so much easier. Right now, if you don't close in the home, it's because you ain't closing. It ain't got nothing to do with underwriting. It ain't got nothing to do with you being worried. We had this guy the other day, Gina. He said, "Listen, I don't want to be difficult, but I've got about 40 different scenarios I would like to sit down with you and go over the quotes." And I thought, I'm going to die with this guy going over all these quotes. I'm not kidding. He had 40. Then you told me about this app. I said, "Hey, we don't even have to go over them. I'm going to send it to you, let you do your own." He said, "Are you kidding me?" And sure enough, my man stayed up all night putting in health conditions, doing numbers, because I can sell this, I can sell it. And then he wrote 1,700 this week. I guess he had family that had issues. I don't know. But anyways, life-changing app. It's amazing to me. I'm absolutely thrilled about it. So it doesn't rank it on what the cheapest price is. It ranks it based on what's best for the client and for you, because we like you.
All right. I think that's all I've got. I don't want to keep you guys too long.